Now I'm here at PMC booth with Mr. Tong. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
We had a really nice explanation about the new Produce series paper, but let's start with the more classical one, the PMC high-end speakers as well.
Okay. Yeah. For the consumer, our high-end loudspeaker is the Fenestria. That's our flagship model, and that contains all the technology that we've developed over the last 30 years in one model. We're a very open-minded company, so we look at every aspect of what can influence the sound quality of a loudspeaker, and we prioritize that, and we develop technologies to reduce everything that isn't music, so coloration, distortion, etc., etc. And the Fenestra is the apex of this design. So we have technology that reduces vibration. We have technology which cancels vibration. We have technology that reduces cabinet noise, distortion within the crossover. We've looked at every aspect, even down to the shape of that surrounds the drive units to ensure that there's no unwanted reflections. And the Fenestra is, it's a phenomenal loudspeaker and a really amazing communicator. So when you hear music on the Fenestra, it's really touches you. It's very emotional, as with all PMC loudspeakers, but especially with the Fenestra. It's so pure.
And especially the iconic PMC UFO drivers as well, the bass.
Oh, the bass drive units. Yeah. We have, in the larger SE models, we have a specific design which is obvious because we have a radial.
Yeah.
The radial driver is something that we've been using now in the professional world as well as the consumer world for maybe 25 years. It has special attributes whereby the exterior exoskeleton that you see on the outside of the drive unit, that's used as a heat sink, and that ensures that the coil remains at a constant temperature, so it's unaffected by a thing called power compression. Power compression is whereby the coil would warm, get hot, and then as it heats, it becomes more resistive, which means you need to put more power in, which means each time you put the power up, it will reduce in level, and then eventually it would fail. But with the exoskeleton, with the radial drive unit, it keeps that at a perfect temperature. So you can just keep whatever level you want to play, high, medium or low, you'll always have the same frequency response. And that's great because it works well with the transmission line, because the transmission line also works beautifully well at all volume levels. So you still get the bass, a superb bass response at low level, as well as medium or high. Most loudspeakers don't work this way. You need to set the volume to a medium level to hear all the frequencies. Right. With transmission line, even late at night, you can listen at low level and still hear perfect, dynamic, clean, deep bass.
And also, the subscribers will be curious about the enclosures as well.
The enclosure? Yeah. All PMC enclosures, cabinets, they contain the transmission line. And we've developed transmission lines much further than any other company, and we call that the advanced transmission line. And within the cabinet, there's a labyrinth. So effectively, we divide the cabinet up so it creates this long tunnel. And within the tunnel, we specify and manufacture very specific absorbent materials. And that effectively absorbs all the upper mid bass, the rear radiation from the bass unit, all that upper mid bass is absorbed, and all the low frequency is allowed to travel through the line and exit at the vent at the end. So what you get is not only superb deep bass from a small cabinet, but the mid-range is exceptional. It's really transparent because all that that mid-range energy that you wanted to get rid of is absorbed by the line. So it's not reflected back through the drive unit. A lot of seal boxes and reflex boxes have this attribute of the mid-range isn't anywhere near as clear. So the transmission line isn't all about bass, it's about clarity of mid-range and lowering distortion. And it's a technology that we use throughout all our loudspeakers, and that's for the professional loudspeakers as well as the consumer ones. It's an excellent technology, and we're constantly developing it. So each model we bring out, we look at the last model and we say, we could have done this better, or we could have done this slightly differently. So then we develop a new model, and that's how we progress, because we're never happy with what we make. We're always wanting to just make it that little bit better or a little bit different.
Since you said about the new model, I can see the new model also at the front.
Yep, these ones. Yep. So, sorry, you wanted to know about these ones?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. The Prodigy series has two models. The Prodigy 1, which is a stand mount or a bookshelf, and then there's the floor standing version, which is the Prodigy 5. Now both of them are two-way models. They both use the same drive units. Both of the drive units are professionally proven, so they feature in our professional studio loudspeakers. The tweeter is derived from our Result 6 monitor, which is used in studios throughout the world. That's got great transparency, beautifully wide dispersion, and also very, very low distortion, and it's very robust. So it has great reliability. So it's proven in that way. And the bass unit is a special bass unit that comes also from the professional world, from our CI series. And the CI series has been used a lot now for Dolby Atmos mixing suites, mixing studios. And that's become the kind of reference now for Dolby Atmos mixing. So we know it's well tried and tested. So that's why we've used those drive units, because they're robust, transparent, and they're just a great drive unit. The bass unit especially doesn't have any particular character, so it doesn't impart a particular sound on the...
But more flat sound.
Very, very flat in response, and doesn't have a character. Lots of bass units, especially in the mid-range, they have a specific character. They can make a vocal sound compressed or coloured. With this one, it's very, very, very neutral. It's the best way to describe it.
Neutral,
It's
right.
very, very neutral. Both of the models, the Prodigy 1 and the Prodigy 5, have our latest iteration of advanced transmission line. So obviously in the one, it's a very, very long extended line in a very, very small cabinet. And at the end of the transmission line, we have a new laminar vent.
Laminar vent.
The laminar vent is something that we developed from the that came from the professional world as well, when we developed a very, very powerful main monitor called the QB1. And the QB1 is a reference monitor for studios like Capitol Studios in LA, the famous Capitol Studios. And what we had with that model, we discovered that air passing in and out of the cabinet, if you weren't controlling that air properly, could be quite resistive. And the air couldn't move quickly enough because of the vortices as it was passing through out of the cabinet into the space of the room. And we found that if we could ensure that air passing in and out of the cabinet worked in a laminar way where it flowed beautifully, very similar to air passing over an aircraft wing or underneath a Formula One car. So we can control it so it flows beautifully and low resistance. It would make the transmission line more efficient and allow the drive unit to work faster and quicker, which makes the bass sound faster and quicker. But also the vortices of air, you can hear these, so that's another way of reducing that distortion. Because we want to develop, we develop loudspeakers for you to hear music, not to hear the loudspeaker. We don't want you to hear any other coloration. You know, coloration is not what we want you to hear. Music is the most important thing.
That was actually a great description about the PMC speakers. Finally, could you leave us some comment for the Korean fans as well?
We'd like to thank everyone in Korea for their support of the PMC brand. We've done so well in a relatively short time, and we're glad you love PMC in Korea. And with the Prodigy models, I'm sure there's going to be a lot more people in Korea that can enjoy more music, because it will give more people access to the PMC sound. So yeah, they'll be with you very, very soon. Thank you.
Thank you for the great interview.
Is that okay? It's really difficult.